Hello, and welcome to another tutorial from ViewZen Labs on the Analytics platform. Today, we'll explore the Textbox. Textboxes are essential components of any dashboard in ViewZen Analytics. They allow users to add additional information, insights, and analysis to dashboards. They make it easier for the viewers to understand and interpret the data. Text boxes can contain text, such as titles, descriptions, explanations, footnotes, or annotations, as well as data. They can also help to create a narrative around the data, providing context and insights that might not be apparent from the visualizations. Now let's learn how to create a text box. To create a text box, first switch to Designer mode from the Mode switch drop-down at the top right corner. After that, go to the ribbon at the top of the canvas, select the text box icon, and then click the location in the canvas where we want to place the text box. If there are no elements on the canvas, then the text box will be placed on the topmost left corner on the canvas. Let's dig deeper into the text box configuration. When we hover the cursor over the text box, we will see the edit and delete icons. We can delete the text box by clicking on the delete icon. But while doing so, we should note that deletion cannot be reversed. If we want to access the properties pane of the text box, we need to click on the edit icon. The properties pane always opens on the right-hand side, on top of the canvas. The properties pane of the text box will allow us to design the appearance, create or change the content, and position the text box. Another way to access the properties pane is to click on the pen icon in the ribbon after selecting the text box. Let us now look at the property configurations one by one. Under Text Box Properties, there are two tabs, the Format tab and the Data tab. We will first delve into the various functionalities under the Format tab. To begin with, we will go to the Text config. Here we can enter the content that we want to display in the text box. We can enter or modify the text in the Rich Text Editor. The formatting tool at the top of the Rich Text Editor contains the text formatting options. We can format text in ways similar to what we do in Word. To change the formatting of the text, we have to just select the text and then choose the font style, font size, text color, text background, and alignment. Further, we can even format each letter or word of a sentence after selecting that specific word or sentence. At times, we might want to use the same text or background color on multiple words. To achieve that, we can copy the hex code from the color box of the source content and paste it into the hex fields of all the destination contents. In the general settings, we can adjust the position and size of a text box. By specifying values for X and Y, we determine where on the screen the text box will be placed, and by entering values for width and height, we control how big or small the text box appears. The Component Link feature allows us to effortlessly incorporate the text box into any portal or application. This means that the link serves as an API that can be seamlessly integrated into various portals, enabling them to call up the text box and display it within the portal interface. Viewer settings are additional options that appear only when the dashboard is opened in view mode. The options allowing users to interact with the different components of the dashboard. For a text box, we can enable the end user to view the text box in full screen mode. By default, in view mode, the full screen icon is placed at the top right corner of the text box. However, we can modify where the full screen icon appears on the text box by selecting a location from a given set of locations in the square box adjacent to the full screen option in the viewer settings. In appearance, we can add the background color, shadow, and border to the text box. For choosing the background color, click on the color box and then choose the required color either by selecting from the color palette or by entering the RGBA or HSLA or hex color codes. If we wish to use the same color in another text box that we have created, we can copy the hex code of the source text box and paste it into the hex code field in the respective destination text box. The primary text color for the text box in ViewZen Analytics is black. However, we can choose an alternative text color as well. When an alternative primary color is selected, the content will appear in that color, except where a word or sentence is assigned a text color under the text config property. Using padding, we can control the space that is to be left between the content and the border of the text box. Additionally, we can also add shadows to the text box by specifying the offset values, blur radius, and color. Likewise, we can specify the width, style, color, and radius of the border of the text box. Let's move on to the Data tab in the Properties pane. The Data tab allows us to insert dynamic data from the available data sets into our text. To add dynamic data, click on the pen icon on the top left corner of the Properties pane and then drag and drop the data fields to the Measures box. We can aggregate the data in the data field by selecting the appropriate aggregation option from the drop-down. Further, we can edit the name of the data field by double-clicking on the field name. To change the already added data field, either we can delete and add again, or we can click on the drop-down icon next to it and select the new data field. After adding the data field, go to the Text Config under the Format tab and click on the Insert button to insert the data field's name or value at appropriate places in the text. Furthermore, if we need to filter the dynamic data that is displayed in the text box by appropriate conditions, we can use the Filter option. The Filter option can be accessed from the top right corner of the Properties pane. Once we click the filter icon, it will open the Component Filter pane with a Create Filter button. To create a filter, click on the Create Filter button and then enter the filter name and select the field name from the drop-down. Depending on the data type of the field name selected, the options would show respective operators in the drop-down. For instance, if the data type is a string, the options would show string operators. As soon as we have selected the field and the operator and entered the value or range to be filtered, the filter will be saved. By default, the text includes the filtered range. Moreover, we can exclude the given range of filtered values from being displayed in the text box by sliding the toggle button inside the filter configuration to the right. We can add any number of filters to our dynamic data by clicking on the plus icon on the right-hand side of the value. Any filter that is created will be applied to the respective dynamic fields used in the text box. Further, in the Component Filter pane, We can view all the filters created and can also enable or disable any filter when required. After configuring the above steps, it's crucial to save these changes in the Properties pane. This ensures that the configured properties are applied and persist across sessions. Click on the Save button within the Properties pane to save the changes. Once saved, the settings get applied. Now, if we edit the text box again, the newly applied settings will appear in the Properties pane. If we close the Properties pane without saving the changes, the unsaved changes will still be available until either the changes are applied by clicking the Save button or discarded by clicking Cancel Changes. This final step completes the setup and configuration of the text box component.